faithfully delivering value, interpreting great books from around the world. Hello, this is Sally's Book Club. Today we'll be exploring the book Breaking Through Your Nature, subtitled Harvard University's most popular personality psychology course. Personality can be simply understood as character. It refers to the psychological traits and behavioral tendencies people display in social life. For instance, some folks are outgoing and sociable, while others might be scatterbrained and disorganized at work. Then there are emotionally sensitive individuals prone to anxiety. All these reflect different personality traits. Personality influences every aspect of our lives. Marital stability, career achievements, they're all tied to personality. So how exactly does personality form? Ancient Greek scholars believed bodily fluid ratios determined personality types. Freud thought subconscious sexual drives shaped our personalities. Modern psychology examines biological inheritance and childhood experiences. Though theories differ, all agree personality is molded by forces beyond conscious control, maintaining stable continuity. As the saying goes, changing one's nature is harder than moving mountains. Yet today's book challenges this view. Author Brian Little is an internationally renowned psychology pioneer in personality, motivation, and happiness research. His personality psychology course at Harvard was wildly popular, earning him Most Beloved Professor 3 years straight. Brian's TED Talk on personality garnered over 5 million views, hailed as 2016's must-see psychology lecture. Though publicly seen as humorous and extroverted, he's actually serious, introverted, and avoids strangers. Before speeches, he'd hide in restrooms to mentally prepare, blending experience and research into fresh insights. He argues personality contains both fixed elements and changeable aspects. Driven by ideals, we can consciously cultivate different traits through effort. Like Brian himself, naturally introverted, yet his passion for teaching lets him break through in classrooms. In this book, the author introduces how different personality traits affect our lives and happiness. Additionally, the author analyzes factors influencing personality, showing us how to break free from innate constraints to achieve a happy life. Next, I'll break down the book's main content into two parts for you. First, what traits does personality include? Second, what factors shape personality? Let's start with the first part. What traits does personality include? Personality has many different dimensions. Psychologists often refer to 5 key personality traits when analyzing personality: conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness, and extroversion. Together, they're known as the Big Five personality traits. Each trait affects our happiness. We've also included a Big Five personality assessment in the transcript below the audio. You can follow along visually as you listen to our analysis. Let's start with conscientiousness. People high in conscientiousness are often meticulous, plan-oriented, and not impulsive. Those low in conscientiousness tend to be disorganized, careless, and impulsive. Many studies show that conscientiousness is closely linked to academic performance and career success. Individuals high in conscientiousness have a greater likelihood of entering university and achieving good results at work. Because highly conscientious people are more planned, able to overcome short-term impulses for long-term goals, they spend more time on studies and work, make fewer mistakes, and naturally achieve better outcomes. Other research finds that highly conscientious people live longer, as they engage in health-related tasks and plans, like regular dental checkups and exercise. However, this doesn't mean higher conscientiousness is always better. When discussing pros and cons, it's about comparison within a reasonable range. Excessively high or low levels can cause issues. For example, someone extremely conscientious, who checks everything repeatedly, can severely reduce work efficiency and still fail to achieve success. Moreover, the benefits of personality traits depend on environmental demands. Psychologists note that the advantages of high conscientiousness are best realized in predictable, orderly environments. Now, schools and most workplaces meet these conditions, but in chaotic, unpredictable environments, High conscientiousness individuals may perform worse than those low in conscientiousness. The book uses jazz musicians as an example. Jazz is a highly free-form music that often requires players to improvise or collaborate with unfamiliar musicians, especially those high in conscientiousness. They are very familiar with standard repertoires, but not adept at syncing with other players' rhythms when improvising new pieces together. So, musicians low in conscientiousness, on the other hand, are less planned and enjoy spontaneous play, so they can flexibly collaborate to create innovative music and are more likely to be acclaimed as outstanding artists. And artists, the second personality trait is agreeableness. Those high in agreeableness have strong cooperative spirit and compassion and are helpful. Those low are often seen as unfriendly, narrow-minded, and confrontational. In workplaces requiring collaboration, high agreeableness offers significant advantages. People tend to like such individuals and build good relationships with them. For example, a client manager's job is to maintain relationships with key clients. If the manager has high agreeableness, it's easier to attract clients to buy products. But as mentioned earlier, personality traits beyond a reasonable range can have negative impacts. Excessively high agreeableness can also hinder work. If someone always tries to get along with everyone, work efficiency drops, affecting the most important outcomes. To succeed, sometimes you need to stand your ground and ignore others' dissatisfaction and opposition. Therefore, many successful leaders are often perceived as low in agreeableness. Fifth, the third personality trait is neuroticism. It refers to whether a person's emotions are easily swayed by environmental influences or have strong stability. People high in neuroticism are sensitive to negative signals in the environment. They constantly detect, recall, and ponder perceived dangers, staying vigilant, which helps them identify and solve problems early. However, those with excessively high neuroticism may endure prolonged stress, suffer sleep disorders and various health issues, and have higher risks of depression and anxiety, right? Conversely, those low in neuroticism are insensitive to external negative signals and have stronger emotional stability. Compared to high neuroticism individuals, they also have higher life satisfaction. Neuroticism can also act as an amplifier for other personality traits, potentially leading to extremism. For highly conscientious people, if they also have high neuroticism, their meticulousness in a positive sense can turn into pathological obsessive behavior. For example, checking the lock multiple times. People low in agreeableness, if also high in neuroticism, are more likely to harbor hostility toward others and get into conflicts. The fourth trait of the Big Five is openness. People high in openness are more receptive to new ideas, environments, and relationships. They're interested in art and culture, prefer unusual tastes and smells, and have greater creativity, whereas those low in openness typically resist novelty and stick to routines. Openness also affects emotional experiences. People high in openness experience both negative emotions like anxiety, depression, or hostility more easily, and positive emotions like happiness, awe, and joy, making it a double-edged sword. The fifth trait of the Big Five is extroversion. Those high in extroversion are what we commonly call extroverts, and those low are introverts. The difference is that extroverts need more environmental stimulation to perform tasks effectively, but introverts, conversely, need less environmental stimulation to perform at their best. For example, when writing an article, an extrovert might need to listen to intense music or go to a noisy place like a cafe to stimulate inspiration and finish the work, whereas an introvert writes more smoothly in a quiet environment. When completing tasks, extroverts focus on speed, willing to finish quickly but making some mistakes, while introverts focus on quality, for fearing to be slower to achieve perfection. This difference in work style makes it difficult for introverts and extroverts to collaborate with each other. Conflicts easily arise when completing tasks. Moreover, extroverts and introverts view things from different perspectives. Extroverts are sensitive to rewards and opportunities and tend to interpret things optimistically, whereas introverts are more sensitive to punishment and focus on the risks of a situation. The author gives an example. There are two mothers, both with 18-month-old children, who love ketchup. Oh, oh. The introverted mother is worried that the child wants ketchup with everything. Does this indicate a stomach problem? The extroverted mother, however, isn't worried at all. She thinks that as long as she gives the child some ketchup, the child will eat anything. It's clearly a good thing, since the child isn't picky. But, well, it's not for me. From this perspective, extroverts tend to be calmer and experience more positive emotions. But this doesn't mean extroverts are necessarily happier than introverts, as happiness is influenced by many combined personality traits. An introverted person who's emotionally stable and sociable might have much higher happiness than an emotionally unstable extrovert. So far, we've covered the big five personality traits. As mentioned earlier, personality has many different dimensions. The big five are just five common ones. The author also introduces other personality traits that greatly impact happiness, like self-monitoring and sense of control. First, self-monitoring. This refers to how much a person's behavior is influenced by their situation. High self-monitors often care deeply about others' opinions and act based on expectations and potential outcomes. Low self-monitors consider others' views less and act according to their own consistent preferences and values. To low self-monitors, high self-monitors might seem like chameleons who change their colors depending on the company. But in workplaces valuing interpersonal relationships, high self-monitors do tend to be more favored by leaders and get promoted easily. In intimate relationships, however, low self-monitors have the upper hand because their consistent behavior provides partners with security, whereas high self-monitors do the opposite. For example, if a husband acts conservatively with some relatives but openly with others, his wife might see him as unpredictable and question who she married, creating marital risks. Moreover, high self-monitors focus intensely on specific situations. Their security comes from advanced preparation. For instance, if a colleague calls asking if I want to attend tomorrow's company gathering. If I'm a high self-monitor, I'd ask questions like, what's the gathering's purpose? Who is attending? Where is it held? If I fully understand and see career benefits, I'll attend. If I'm a low self-monitor, I might just ask who's hosting. If I like them, I'll go. If not, I won't. However, the author notes self-monitoring isn't fixed but has flexibility. Even low self-monitors naturally increase monitoring during job interviews or speeches, caring more about others' opinions. So the ideal state is adjusting our self-monitoring level according to situational needs. For example, increasing monitoring at work while lowering it in intimate relationships. Having covered self-monitoring, we'll now move on. People with high sense of control believe they steer life's direction, where achievements depend mainly on their own efforts and abilities. Those with low sense of control believe life depends on external circumstances, where luck and environment outweigh effort.
High control individuals adapt to stress faster. They take proactive approaches, confident they'll find solutions to challenges, thus succeeding more easily.
What if an exam is extremely difficult? Then spend more time practicing problems and reviewing. What if weight increases?
Then make time for daily exercise, while low control people remain passive with lower success probabilities.
In a prison inmate study, researchers found high control inmates understood parole conditions and procedures better, knowing when to apply and how to explain reasons to the warden. Thus, high control inmates are more likely granted parole, and much evidence shows high control teams achieve better academic outcomes. But nothing's absolute. When high control people fail after believing they'd succeed, happiness plummets with self-doubt and negative emotions. Meanwhile, low control individuals accept failure better with smaller happiness fluctuations. With this, we've covered personality traits and their life impacts. Next, in part 2, we'll explore what factors shape personality. The book introduces 3 factors. First is biological inheritance, called first nature, affecting brain structure, as each personality has physiological foundations. For the big 5 traits, biological inheritance accounts for about 50% of influence. For instance, evidence shows highly agreeable people have higher oxytocin levels. Oxytocin is a chemical secreted during orgasms, breastfeeding, and intimacy, produced by both genders, making people feel secure and helpful. There's also a brain region called the amygdala. When threats appear, the amygdala alerts the brain, generating emotions like fear. People with high neuroticism typically have more sensitive amygdalae, making them quicker to detect threats. The second factor shaping personality is social culture, which the author calls second nature. Different societies have distinct cultural tendencies that subtly influence children. For example, American culture promotes extroversion, encouraging children to actively showcase their strengths. In some Asian regions, social culture encourages children not to stand out excessively, but to blend quietly into groups. Children conforming to social norms receive praise, while non-conforming children are seen as outsiders and criticized. Our personalities align with our social upbringing, which might conflict with biological predispositions. For instance, someone biologically inclined toward introversion but raised in extroversion valuing American culture will be influenced by both forces. The resulting personality might be a comfortable balance point between extroversion and introversion. And so the third personality shaping factor is distinctive motivation, referring to life goals and aspirations people pursue. The book uses personal projects to describe these motivations. The author terms personality shaped by biological inheritance and social culture as stable traits, what the book title refers to as nature. Personality shaped by personal projects is called free traits. For example, a naturally introverted mother who dislikes strangers might enthusiastically host her daughter's friends for a memorable birthday, appearing extroverted. This demonstrates free traits in action. Similarly, as mentioned earlier, even though self-monitors can increase monitoring during job interviews, caring about the interviewer's perception and preparing thoroughly. This too embodies free traits. Free traits aren't hypocrisy or pretense. They reflect our core values. To pursue valued personal projects, like becoming great teachers or parents or securing dream jobs, we can transcend innate limitations, achieve self-growth, and find happiness. This is truly remarkable. The key is creating suitable personal projects and persistently pursuing them. So what personal projects can help us break through our nature and shape desired free traits? It should possess 4 characteristics. The first characteristic is meaningfulness. Personal projects derive meaning from various sources. For instance, when a project aligns with your core values, it becomes deeply meaningful. Like in our earlier example, the introverted mother's core value was loving her daughter and being a good mom. And her daughter's joyful birthday celebration embodied this value, motivating the mother to act extroverted. Additionally, projects feel meaningful when self-initiated rather than externally imposed. A survey of American high schoolers showed highest self-initiated projects included social activities and building relationships. Lowest self-initiated projects included studying and house cleaning. The second characteristic of good projects is controllability, their likelihood of success. When people believe a project is achievable, like making friends or finding dream jobs, they're motivated to change. If a project seems unattainable, like winning a Nobel Prize, no matter how meaningful, motivation falters as effort feels wasted. The third characteristic is receiving others' recognition and support. In one study, pregnancy was treated as a personal project. Mothers rated aspects which were compared to birth outcomes. Results showed partners' emotional support best predicted both mother's satisfaction and delivery success. Another study on entrepreneurs yielded similar findings. When career success was the personal project, partners' emotional support remained the strongest predictor. Entrepreneurs with strong partner support reported higher happiness and greater financial income. The fourth characteristic is experiencing positive emotions. When projects bring joy and energy, that reward itself drives change and better goal pursuit. Projects. Conversely, even meaningful, achievable, supported projects with painful, emotionally draining execution processes may become unsustainable, like caring for Alzheimer's patients, which meets the first three criteria but causes overwhelming burden. The mental stress is overwhelming. Just completing the task drains all energy, constantly wanting to escape, leaving no room for self-change. Okay, these 4 points are the characteristics that good personal projects need to satisfy. But even with suitable personal projects, we encounter various difficulties while pursuing them. For example, enthusiasm wanes over time and failures breed self-doubt or abandonment. How can we overcome these obstacles and persist? The author offers 3 suggestions. First is infusing projects with new meaning. When enthusiasm fades, reigniting motivation by assigning fresh significance to the project. Harvard researchers demonstrated this in an experiment by reinterpreting tasks for hotel housekeepers.
In Boston hotels, housekeepers spent 7 to 8 hours daily cleaning rooms. A grueling, monotonous job.
Many complained about no time for exercise and growing burnout from the work. Researchers randomly split them. Group 1 was told room cleaning was healthy exercise. Calorie burn labels for each task were posted in their break room. Group 2 received no such information. After 4 weeks, Group 2 showed no change, but Group 1 enjoyed work more, felt positive emotions, and even lowered blood pressure and body fat. Researchers concluded that positive reframing affects hormone levels, causing physiological changes. So when motivation dips, explore new meanings. More meanings equals stronger persistence. Another example, many quit exercise routines after starting.
One solution? Combine exercise with other activities, like learning from audio courses or enjoying dramas.
This adds learning and entertainment meaning to exercise, boosting persistence. The second suggestion is to change personal constructs. Personal constructs are lenses through which people view themselves or others, like smart or stupid, kind or malicious, or traits like introversion or extroversion, all forming personal constructs. Facing the same situation, different personal constructs lead to different interpretations. Imagine dining at a restaurant. You notice a young man at the next table sending his steak back for the 3rd time. How would you perceive this young man? Some might judge through agreeableness, thinking he's inherently difficult and unpleasant. Others might see motivation, that he's projecting strict standards to impress his companion. Still others might assume he's venting frustration through the waiter. All distinct personal constructs. This shows richer personal constructs provide more angles to view situations. When personal projects hit obstacles, shifting constructs offers new perspectives to overcome challenges.
The book gives an example. One man had a binary construct, judging everyone as either genius or idiot.
If someone failed at anything, he'd label them an idiot. Only rare figures like physicist Stephen Hawking earned his genius label. This mindset sabotaged his projects. Any failure made him call himself an idiot and quit. Adopting a skill-based construct would show current failure just means learning opportunities for future success. This skill growth construct offers new solutions to persist with projects. The third suggestion, find restorative niches. The author states stable traits are our most authentic expression. Long-term suppression causes harm, like a female lawyer whose stable traits are warmth and kindness, but courtroom demands force aggressive behavior, constantly suppressing her nature. This keeps his autonomic nervous system in high tension, easily causing adverse reactions like rapid heartbeat and muscle tension. The accumulated anxiety and stress also weaken the immune system, leading to various health problems. Okay, to pursue personal projects long-term, the author suggests finding a restorative niche for ourselves. Here we freely express stable traits, release suppressed nature, decompress accumulated stress, and fully rest to better face future challenges. For example, an extrovert needing to act introverted at work.
He might visit nightclubs weekly to indulge freely.
As an introvert, the author retreats to quiet restaurants before speeches, away from noise, to relax, leading to better performance. All right, let's summarize part 2. 3 factors shape personality: biological inheritance, social culture, and personal projects. Personal projects motivate self-change, allowing us to transcend innate traits and express free traits. Good personal projects feature meaningfulness, controllability, social support, and abundant positive emotions. To sustain pursuit, we can assign new meaning, shift personal constructs, and find restorative niches. With this, we've nearly covered breaking through your nature. The author believes, although innate factors like biology and culture shape us, we aren't their hostages. You might resent traits limiting your pursuit of better living, but you can change yourself. Inspired by worthy goals, you can actively shape personality into an ally for pursuing happiness. All right, breaking through your nature. That concludes our interpretation. Find show notes below the audio. Until next time.